work all day, freeze your eggs, will pay for your abortion. And I think that's so toxic and detrimental to women.
She gets it.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's
statistics.
You are statistically more likely after you transition.
That's why I think the gender roles are fucking bullshit. If anything, it's about gender roles. Like, what about, okay, so me being about a baby woman, okay, whatever. Everything else about woman is a gender role. Gender role.
Exactly,
and it's like, if you're gonna sit here and
I hate these words. It's a gender role. It's what society tells us. But where are those roles derived from? Originally, there has to be an original for stereotypes. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Christine here, and today we are going to be making another video as part of my reaction series. We're looking at the Whatever podcast again. Definitely a podcast I enjoy watching. Not too often though, because it can give me a bit of a headache because I get really frustrated with some of the points being made and I'm not there to say my piece. But that's what this is for. You're going to hear my piece today. Today we are looking at feminism, which is always a very interesting topic. So let's see what's happened as a consequence of feminism.
but then Jesus warned us about being too religious. So going through and saying he made us man and women.
It's not a religious.
Like,
it's not
I
religious.
cannot even believe you said that.
Biological reality.
I think we were talking a little bit about feminism. So you guys, what if I told you that feminism is not actually about equality? Agree, disagree?
It's about awareness.
Awareness?
I would
Wait,
like
did Madison dip?
no, I think she went to the bathroom maybe.
Okay.
But I would like to hear what you think feminism is, or what your
Yeah.
Because I took my definition straight from the dictionary. At least from what I remember.
Yeah.
It could have changed now. They like to change definitions now.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the most charitable definition that I could give feminism is, it's not, again, this is the most charitable definition I give it. It's not an equality movement, it's a women's advocacy movement. And there's nothing wrong with women's advocacy, but to try to paint feminism as seeking true equality. See, feminists don't fight for equality if said equality does not come at the benefit of women. If there is no benefit to be reaped by a form of equality, feminists will not fight for it. Therefore, it is not a true equality movement, because if there was a form of equality that would, in some conceivable way, come to the detriment of women, but equalize the genders, for example, military conscription, feminists will not fight for it. Even if you're granted equality, for example, with if you equalized military conscription to the point where both men and women had to register for the selective service, had to, if they both had to be conscripted in wartime, that would be equality. But it's the case in today, women were able to secure the vote without having the corresponding responsibility of being conscripted into war. So, and even to this day, women are not subject to military conscription in the US and the vast majority of Western countries where we have feminist movements and where we otherwise have equality between the sexes.
So from like my definition of feminism, like I said, the belief that men and women are equal. And I kind of take like your version of it. I mean, I know you're not a feminist, but like we are equal in value. We are not.
If the belief is just that men and women are equal, I would like to think that we all kind of know that anyway, unless you're on some extreme part of the spectrum for human beings. But like, my point is, if it's about recognizing that men and women are equal, why is it called feminism? Like, it's more about women than it is about men.
Equal in like we're just not equal. Like we can't. It's comparing apples to oranges. It's like two completely different things. That's kind of where I see it, and I don't know. It's taken, since I've kind of switched political leanings, it's taken me a while to kind of like reclaim the term feminist, because like I do just believe in that, like we are equal in value, and I think that's like important. And it goes into a whole bunch of other different definitions. I guess everybody interprets it differently, but like that's my belief of like what true feminism is.
I think another aspect of feminism that really bothers me is this obsessive culture of going to work and encouraging women to work, which I'm a huge fan of. Like I love we're all corporate Americans queen, and we should pursue our dreams and our career, but not at the expense of your family. And so they're leading women into this corporate life that's so unfulfilling. And it's just like honestly buying into this whole capitalist system where you're just sitting at your desk all day and you leave behind no legacy and you have no family and there's no fulfillment. And as someone who works and also has a daughter, I will tell you every day of the week, every second of the day, being a mom is way more fulfilling and important to me then whatever career is happening. And that doesn't say that you can't be passionate about your career, but I think there is no focus on that with women. Instead, it's go into the corporate machine, work all day, freeze your eggs, we'll pay for your abortion. And I think that's so toxic and detrimental to women.
I think
she gets it.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but we also have to always acknowledge that that's a luxury that so many women don't have. And so like in this time where a lot of women do need to work and they don't have the luxury of, you know, getting to spend that time like with their children in that way, that feminism, there's aspects of feminism that do benefit women, just like there's aspects of feminism that might hurt women and hurt men. The same way there's aspects of masculinity in this modern movement that are positive, but there's also aspects that hurt men and hurt women. And I think it's on both sides. It's not like who's to blame. Is feminism to blame? Is masculinity to blame? But I think there's issues on both sides.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a one size fits all. Oh my gosh, feminism is the only thing that's ever gone wrong. It's the breakdown of traditional gender roles. And I think there's a reason why this existed throughout history and it's full. And I think there's this attitude with people nowadays where they think that everyone that came before us is stupid and create this whole new world. And I think we can learn from people of the past and their successes and like what created happiness and what created fulfillment. And like I said, my whole thing is I think feminism is very counterproductive to women. And like even going into a whole nother aspect of this, when I see actual civil rights deterioration for women, which is what feminism should stand up for, like the gender movement that now is allowing men to basically become women just because they like stereotypically feminine things, putting on dresses and heels, and now they're invading our sports teams, our locker rooms. Like these are civil rights that we've fought for and now are being eroded by men. And then I rarely see feminists standing up against that. And like men are taking our championships, our titles, they're competing in our sports. And like Title IX, we fought really hard. Feminists fought hard for that.
Well, like, be real. That's so like, I feel like how does that have anything to do with feminism? When we come to
Isn't feminism as women listening to each other as women? She just made a really, really good point, and she's asking for some answers. Why is it that the feminists allow this to happen? Instantly, the feminist, I'm presuming, on the panel, I'm not listening and I'm not going to answer you.
It's just kind of about going to the places where like women are kind of considered not equal to men, where women should be equal to men. Like I feel like it was all about wages, and then people drag it. I mean, it was about wages, and it was about wages, and then it kind of got dragged into getting bigger about what gender roles and like. But it was feminism was of course in the name created to protect women. But then, like, to go for it and say that men are just choosing, I mean, like, you don't understand, like, the chemical makeup of people and their hormones or their hormone imbalances and, like, what happens in the body is so organic. Like, you can't tell me that there's enough science to prove. That's just so
that an XX chromosome is female and XY is male.
But, like, who cares? Like, everything that is female and male.
I care if men are coming in and taking away civil rights achievements that we've won
or
over
coming into my
time.
prisons.
And raping women in prison.
Well, men aren't coming into...
Yes, they are.
They are?
Yes, they 100% are. Look into Washington State prisons. Raping women in prison.
Wait, hold on.
I'm so sorry. I keep saying the R word.
Are you saying...
I like cannot... Sorry, I'll let you talk, but I cannot condone...
Grape.
Like, just saying that men are coming into...
Dylan Mulvaney was like a brand ambassador or did some kind of promotion for Tampax. My question is, where is it going and for what purpose?
Women experience so much abuse.
All right, we're not
as well as
talking
women
about that. But basically what you're saying is that men
straight to the exception.
Like who
are better women than women? Is what you're saying?
I'm
just kidding. I'm kidding.
My whole thing is that feminism is not protecting in the actual erosion of our civil rights that I'm seeing unfolding through the...
Do you know what's actually a ray of light in all of this? I was on a podcast with someone who had very different political views to me. They were very, very liberal. But we found this common understanding as women, the whole transgender thing, where women are basically being pushed out and having to give up their positions for what definitely was at some point a biological man, and therefore has many advantages over us, especially when we look at the sports industry. That specifically is what I'm referring to here. So that's the one glimmer of hope, is that most of the time, at least in my experience, women, we can unite when having differing opinions, at least on this topic. Like, most women understand that it is absolutely ridiculous what we're seeing at the moment with regards to trans women.
Movement, there's very few feminists that stand up against that.
Yeah, the patriarchy wins again.
Yeah, exactly. I just find the entire movement overall extreme.
Or is it that we're, as women, are failing ourselves by allowing it to happen?
counterproductive for women
Yeah.
and very toxic.
But do you think that means that we just have to, you can't just like eliminate the idea that like there is that movement going on for like people who are transgender to do things like sports. Like we can't deny that that's happening. So if I feel like it can't just be that we either accept that or we don't. But what about finding solutions that everybody can agree with? Do you think that that's possible, that's supportive of everybody, that everyone would be?
Every human being ever is never going to agree on everything. So the problem that I see with the whole transgender movement at the moment is that the majority is having to cater to an exception. I don't know. Where's the logic in that? It's like the whole, what's that experiment called? The trolley experiment, where you basically have a trolley and it's like, do you kill 8 people or do you kill 1 person? Do you cater to the minority or do you cater to the majority? It's always going to be a hard question because at the end of the day, no one's ever going to agree on everything all at once. So it's like, okay, do we go with what the majority of people agree with, or do we go what a minority of people? I think you should always go with the majority. I think that's the best thing to do.
Comfortable with?
I have extreme compassion and empathy for people who struggle with that and that they do not like the bodies that they're in. I have extreme empathy and compassion for that, but that just because someone feels that way does not mean it's true. If an anorexic person is telling you that they hate their body, they look in the mirror every day and they're like, I'm fat. A doctor does not just prescribe them diet pills. The same way, we should be teaching people that the body we're born in is the right body. God does not make mistakes. You have a beautiful body and you should embrace that, and you should love yourself for who you are. Regardless, you can't biologically and physically transition into a different gender. And so, like I said, I have extreme compassion.
You think Jesus really cares about whether or not you're transitioning? Is there one time in the Bible where Jesus
Many times. He made them man and woman.
Where did Jesus say that? Jesus came to forgive and spread love, like for
Jesus
society.
died for our sins to live in His honor.
And Jesus died for our sins for so much. There's nowhere in the
Genesis.
Bible where Jesus
He
said
made
that.
them
What
man
happened
and
to
woman.
dating?
Yeah,
What
but then
happened to dating, guys?
Jesus warned us about being too religious. So
happened to
going through and saying He made us man and women.
It's not a religious.
Like,
It's not
I
religious.
cannot even believe you
it's
said that.
Biological
The problem is when you bring God or religion into any argument, people who aren't religious can always use that to discredit your argument. The point that she's making is that we shouldn't be teaching people that they're allowed to hate themselves, and if they hate themselves, we're going to fund their self-hate even more. That's what at least I am getting from what she is saying, and I agree with that. We shouldn't be teaching, the next generation that if you don't like the body you're in, and I'm the same as her, like that must be a horrible position to be in, to absolutely hate everything about your body and your sex, so much so that you're willing to go through chemical castration and mutilate your body. Like, that's horrible. But we shouldn't be reinforcing that. We shouldn't be telling these people, like, yeah, you should hate yourself. Here you go. Here's some medication because, yeah, you're right. You're definitely in the wrong body. Like, what good is that doing?
Women are born with XX chromosomes and they can have children. And men are born with XY chromosomes, and they have complete different bone density, body structure. They have different sexual reproductive parts. It's reality. And so by leading people down this false road that they can actually change their gender when it's not physically or biologically impossible, I think is cruel and medical malpractice.
Oh my God.
No, I can say that.
Oh my God. Okay.
A man maybe feeling feminine or feminine energy and them dressing up or whatever, that's fine. But I could say I do agree with you on the part where the medical part, because a man taking estrogen is like so just weakens their body and is really bad for them at the end of the day. And I personally don't know too much about it, so I can't say, but I would say medically is not really.
I'm fine with men liking traditionally
I can't believe
feminine
you just said
things.
Because no, at the end of the day, most fully like their bottom part do commit.
That's true. It's statistic.
They do.
You are statistically more likely after you transition.
I'm totally okay with that.
That's why I think the
that's
gender
fine.
roles are fucking bullshit. If anything, it's about gender roles. Like, what about, okay, so me being about a baby woman, okay, whatever. Everything else about woman is a gender role.
Well,
It's a fucking
genderism,
gender
that's
role.
exactly
And it's like, if you're gonna sit here and
Hate these words. It's a gender role. It's what society tells us. But where are those roles derived from? Originally, there has to be an original for stereotypes. Why is it that we say things are typically feminine? Like, that's not just because society has told us it. Society is obviously reinforcing this idea because we're seeing it for whatever reason. It's like the whole argument about the wage gap. Like, you look over to the Scandinavian countries where men and women are free to choose the kind of jobs that they want to do, and there's actually no difference in what they're being paid. Like, women choose to be more nurturing in their careers. They choose more jobs like teachers and nurses, and men choose the STEM jobs. And they're free to pick which one they want to do. That's not a role. That's evidence that generally women's things and men like men's things. Like, the whole idea of gender roles is just completely backwards. It has to come from something in the first place.
About people who genuinely struggle more than other people.
That is what's
because
ironic
that's how their emotions feel.
Like yell here.
This is what's
I'm
ironic.
not trying to scream at you, but it's just like, it just feels stupid to me to sit here and be like, okay, your body, you can be a woman and not touch your freaking. I don't care. Like, my is a dick. I can say whatever the I can believe and have whatever the fuck I want. It's their words.
That's delusion.
What's ironic about genderism is
I'm not like my is a dick, but like my
the
vagina
exact gender roles
and whatever gender that associates
liberals
with
are
is my
fighting
choice.
against. So the whole thing is, if a man likes stereotypically feminine things, then he becomes a woman. That is cementing gender roles and saying, like, example, when I was little, I liked traditionally masculine things. I liked sports. I didn't want to wear a skirt. I wanted to wear shorts. That didn't make me any less of a woman. And so that's what I find so regressive about genderism, is that cementing archaic and stereotypical gender roles and telling people that they can be whoever they want to be, but that doesn't make them less of a man or less of a woman.
But I think also, if you're bringing, you brought God.
It matters because they're coming in, like I said, there's
coming
civil
into
rights.
Okay. People are dying.
And there's very high rate.
But also, I think it's important to acknowledge that you brought God into this conversation, and I completely
This is what I said. As soon as you bring God or religion into it,
respect, and I think a lot of people respect your right to practice your religion, to have your beliefs, but then you also have to respect someone's right to disagree.
These aren't my religious. I do have religious beliefs, but it's
a
aside from
projection
religious.
of religious
No,
beliefs
it's
as
not.
well.
It's a projection of what I believe is biological reality that's existed since the start of humankind.
But then if we're not talking about like how it's coming into like our sports and things like that, I'm saying there's other alternatives for compromise that I believe are possible. Maybe we haven't found them yet, but ways that we can all coexist peacefully.
Agreed.
And so, but to deny the experiences of people with gender,
I don't think she's denying anybody's experience. I think that she is just merely saying that this is a mental illness, and treat it as anything other than that is a disservice to those people.
Yes, it's
because
cruel.
you are telling them a delusion. You're filling into a delusion, and I know that there are some people who do experience gender dysphoria, who do walk lighter in life after medical and social. But I think that for the majority of it, if we look at the statistics, and the only long-term study done, it's done
Eric,
in
can
Sweden.
you pull up S-Fond really quick?
I liked the girl who was wearing black and the girl who was just speaking at the end, because I think this is a consequence of feminism, is the kind of things we're seeing with the transgender movement at the moment, so far as it involves men coming into women's spaces. I have to agree that there is a way that we can compromise, of course. My argument is like, okay, but how much is that gonna cost? Like, and where's that money coming from? And like, when you start adhering to every single exception to the rule, especially when like the exception that you're pandering to is essentially founded in mental illness, and you're reinforcing that, like, what good does that do? I don't think it does any good for anyone. And I definitely have to agree that reinforcing someone's delusion, especially when it's like children as well, like, that's not doing anyone any good. Like, if you're an adult and you want to transition and spend your own money to do that, like, you do you. We live in a free world, and you should be able to do what you want. Setting this ideology that if you don't like the body you're in, that's okay, and you can just change it. Like, I don't think that's good for it. But hey, what do I know? Why don't you let me know what you think and your stance on this in the comments below. If you like this video, please do give it a like, and be sure to subscribe to my channel to see any more of my reaction videos. Also, go check out my Debunking the Lunacy series, where I will look at a bunch of things that are going on in the world right now that I personally think are insane and try to make some sense of it. So yeah, I hope to see you over there. Have a good one.